That is good. Probably the thing I crave the most while through hiking is cold drinks of any kind, especially Gatorade. I am honestly so excited for when I can walk into a gas station when I'm back in Canada and like buy a huge Gatorade. So excited. Okay, so today I actually took the day off of hiking because I was so exhausted this morning. And I've been getting so many questions from so many of you, like via TikTok, Instagram, in person, YouTube. I wanted to just answer the most common ones in one video for you. And I thought today's a great day because I'm too tired to hike, so I'm going to answer your questions. If you don't know me, I'm Krista. I am a Canadian hiker, and I'm currently attempting to hike the entire length of Croatia, the Croatian long distance trail. So let's get into your questions. What has been the scariest moment on the CLDT so far? I think probably so far the scariest moment has been encounters with dogs. So there was one encounter with dogs that were, I don't know if they were stray dogs, but they were maybe like working dogs, like they worked on the fields or something like that. They weren't tied up and they roamed all the way across a field when they saw me, and there were 5 of them. And they started barking at me from like far away, and I was hiking with my 2 hiking poles, and I had heard like use your poles not necessarily to hit them, but to like startle them away from you. So they surrounded me. They're barking and lunging at me, and I was swinging my hiking poles around like in a, I don't know, like a circumference, going no, no, no. And they were just, they wouldn't leave me alone. For about half a K, I just slowly kept walking basically sideways in the direction I was going, swinging my poles so that they wouldn't get into that like radius. And they never did, and I never actually touched them with the poles or anything like that. But it was very, very scary. If you have any experience with like dogs that work with sheep or guard dogs and like what the best thing to do in those situations would be, let me know in the comments. I've been fine so far, but I know I'm going to be encountering more shepherd dogs, so let me know. Okay, the next one is, have you seen any wild animals on the CLDT? I definitely have. Of course, I've seen like lots of birds and insects and things like that. But one day I was hiking in a small forest and I was listening to a podcast because most of the day I was actually in an agricultural area. But then I went through a small forest and there were, all of a sudden I realized I could hear dogs barking. And this is really common. Like as I approach the next neighborhood or the next town, I can hear the dogs start to bark because, you know, if I walk by, they bark at me. That's pretty normal. And these are like dogs that live at houses. So I was like, oh, they must like hear me coming, like dogs that live at a house. But actually, I realized that the barks were in the forest. So I turned off my podcast and I realized there was dogs barking. If this is the trail and the forest here and here, there were dogs barking here and here. And I was basically in the middle of what sounded like a pack of dogs barking and yipping and communicating to each other. And I was like, oh, weird. There's a pack of dogs. And then a small, like puppy-sized dog ran across the trail in front of me. And now in hindsight, I realize I think that was a wolf pack. I think I was actually had gotten in between a wolf pack. One was on one side, one on the other, because what this puppy looked like was it looked like a wolf, a small wolf. So that was pretty cool. There's definitely wolves in Croatia. So I'm pretty sure I've seen a wolf. I haven't seen a bear, but I've seen bear prints. So I was definitely on high alert, but never saw a bear. I've seen tons of deer and heard tons of those deer barks that I'd never heard before. It's a really weird sound. I saw what I think was like a lynx or a cougar. It was a really, really quick encounter. What else have I seen? I've seen a porcupine, which I'd never seen before. Oh, I saw a ton of river otters. They're so cute. They remind me of beavers, just with skinnier tails. think that's everything. I'm sure I'll see a lot more. I often see a lot of wildlife. I find like I'm really good at spotting it, and I hike pretty quietly, I think, so I sometimes get pretty close to wildlife. Okay, what is the root of the CLDT? So this has been a super common question I got on my TikTok, actually. So the root is basically, it starts, I'll put a picture up on the screen here, but basically it starts in Ilok, which is the easternmost side of Croatia. It goes generally up north to the northernmost point, and then all the way to the westernmost point, which is on the coast. Then it goes kind of inland and along the coast back, and then mostly it just goes in that southern direction all the way to the southernmost point, which is Prevlaka, and it's 2,200 kilometers long. How did you choose the CLDT? I love this question because I want to give you a backstory on why I actually chose to thru hike this year at all, and then why I chose this one. So when I thru hiked the Great Divide Trail in Canada in 2020, and then in 2021, Brian and I were finishing this van, and it was just such a huge project that honestly took us a lot longer than we thought it would, that I just couldn't really plan a thru hike because I didn't know when we'd finish this, and we needed to move out of my parents' house and all these different things. So I didn't thru hike in 2021. And I didn't really hike that much either. So then 2022 comes around, and in January I went for a small hike, and as soon as I hit the hiking trail, I was like, oh, I miss this so much. And just right then and there, I decided I have to figure out how to do a thru hike this thru hiking season. So that's when I started researching. So knowing that we were in Europe and we were in the Schengen area, which includes a lot of European countries, Schengen is not the same as the EU. So I looked basically at what countries weren't in the Schengen but were close or part of Europe, because we had to leave the Schengen area after 3 months of travel, because that's just what you get as a tourist when you enter the Schengen area. So I looked at a few different trails, and there's actually a remarkable amount of thru hikes that you can do in and around Europe. I looked at a bunch of them. There was one that was in Slovenia and also kind of, I think, came back around to Croatia, but Slovenia is part of the Schengen area, so I knew that wasn't going to work. So once I found that trail, though, that included part of Croatia, that's when I actually discovered the Croatian long distance trail through my online research. And I realized that for like logistical reasons, doing one country was probably going to be easier for my first like abroad thru hike. And it's 2,200 kilometers long. So like, even though Croatia isn't a huge country, it's literally like the entire length of the country. So it's a massive thru hike. And we get a 3-month travel visa in Croatia. So knowing that I had 3 months and I could hopefully complete 2,200 kilometers, and I've literally only heard good things about Croatia. Like, so many of my friends have visited here and loved it. So I thought, what a cool way to see it, to actually walk the whole country. So far, I'm very, very happy with my choice. And considering that I found all these other thru hikes I can do, I'm so excited because there's so many other options in this area. Like, I can't wait to see more. Have you gotten used to your footwear? Thank you for asking. As you might know if you've been watching my previous videos, my footwear is like cinching it too tight was actually what caused my injury in my left leg. And I was struggling with that from like day 5 till day 11 or 12. And since then, I've actually reintroduced my body to that footwear and not tied it as tight and slowly broke them in more. And yeah, I've totally adapted to the footwear. I have gotten 2 blisters, one on each foot, but I've been able to just allow those to build up calluses, and they've been totally fine lately. Touch wood, that stays that way. Some of you are also wondering what type of footwear I use and why I choose to wear shoes instead of hiking boots. For me, with my hiking pace and my style and everything, wearing shoes works better because I can go faster. I like to jog down hills often. Not always, but often. And so that allows me to have more range of motion in my ankles and I can move a little bit more swiftly. Are you afraid while hiking alone? Yes, I am afraid while hiking alone. I'm always afraid a little bit while hiking just because you're out there and there's risks involved. I'm definitely afraid of extra things when I'm out on my own. So like, for example, when I ran into the wild pigs, I felt like it would be nice to have a second person there that we could both scare the pigs away if needed. Or if one of us got injured, the other person could help us out. So on your own, yeah, there's more risks, and I do feel a little bit more, I would say, like, exposed when I'm on my own. But for me, what I've come to learn is, like, managing my fear is a part of it. And so although I'm afraid, in order to keep myself safe, I have to manage my fear. I can't just, allow my fear to take over, because then I've noticed, like, I can't make as good of decisions. I'm not as in tune with my needs. So, I forget to drink water. I forget to eat. I have a hard time eating often when I'm too afraid. So, yes, I do feel afraid, but managing that fear is a really big part of the process, and learning how to be afraid, but manage it enough so that I can still keep myself safe is key. Okay, this one ties into it. Do you have any safety tips for solo female hikers? Yes, I do. So for me, I need to make sure I have a reliable way to contact my support person. So in this case, it's Brian. Other times it's been friends or family members who are my safety person. So the person that I contact who will help me right away if I need anything. So it isn't really necessary on this hike because I pretty much always have cell service, but I'm carrying my inReach satellite device with me every single day, because if my phone dies or I don't have service, I still have a connection to communicate to the outside world. And that device has an option to switch an SOS button, and that will call the local emergency rescue services. So I always want to have a secondary way to contact people. I feel like that's just so worth it for peace of mind. And yeah, it's definitely a bit heavier, but highly, highly recommend having a satellite device. And that goes for if you're just day hiking. I think some people think if you're day hiking, there's less risk. But then, like, if you're overnight hiking, but I still carry that with me when I'm day hiking every single time, because you can still get far in one day, and you're out there, and if you're, 15K deep into a hike and you injure yourself, 15K with an injury is either impossible to do or really, really hard to do. So get a satellite device. I have an inReach, which I love, but I know other ones work well as well. Okay, so my second tip is about managing your needs. So what I have noticed is when you're more afraid, it is harder to look after your basic needs. So being really attentive to your water intake, your food intake, when you need to go to the washroom, when you need breaks. It's so important to take care of those small, what seems small in the moment, those small needs, but when you don't take care of them, that can build into a really big problem. And those small things are so, so important for keeping you safe. You're definitely more likely to not drink enough water than you are to get attacked by a bear. Like, yes, you have to worry about bears, but it's way easier to get, like, heat exhaustion or dehydrated because you're just not managing those needs as well as you could. So although there are some bigger, scarier things that you still need to work on or you still need to think about, those basic needs, those basic things are so, so important for you to keep on top of to keep yourself safe, because I mean, A, like you need those things in order to feel good, but B, you need to be on top of all those things in order to make good decisions if you do encounter a more dangerous scenario. Another tip I have is actually around wildlife encounters. So I have noticed that calling out with my voice, it's not very loud, honestly doesn't really do anything. Like I'll be calling out consistently and I'll still meet wildlife so close. Like they didn't hear my voice. So one thing I've learned is that actually banging my hiking poles together is way more effective than calling out. And it's nice because when you're working hard, breathing hard, thirsty, calling out can be really feel really exhausting. So that banging, it makes such a way louder noise, and the animals, I actually, if I'm consistently banging, I don't encounter wildlife. And if I do, it's like they're further away and I see them or hear them running away. So that's a big tip I have if you're solo. This next tip is more specific to through hikes like this one where you're going through a lot of towns, you're seeing a lot of people, you're not actually in the backcountry as much. If I notice a car, so this has happened to me a couple times now where a car will pass me and then it'll come back and it'll slowly drive past me. And then maybe it'll turn back around and slowly drive past me again. So my tip is pay attention to those cars and try to take down as much of the information about the car and the person as you can. I'm sure it's fine, but you never know. So when that has happened, what I've done is I've actually sent Brian a voice note. Like I've just recorded myself describing the car. Red, sedan, whatever make and model, license plate if I can see it, what the person inside looks like, which kilometer marker I'm at or which cross street. Hopefully you never have to worry about, you know, your safety person needing to use that information. But I figure if I do disappear and without a trace, there's no leads, like there's nothing for Brian to tell the authorities. But if he has info like where I was, what type of car, what the person looked like, I think hopefully it's more likely that they could track me down. So that is definitely like next level in terms of safety, but I think it's important. Like these things do happen, and I think it's important to always be wary and mindful of that. I think most of us are, but that is something that I've learned to just quickly do. Just record the info and send it as quickly as I can to Brian so he has it, and then he can use it if he needs it. And if he doesn't, great, that's fine. He can just delete it. In those cases, the person didn't come back, and that was great. Sometimes I'll actually turn off the road and wait for them to drive by again so they can't see me. So that's really where, you know, you're going to be hiking on roads more. You're going to be seeing more cars and people. Okay, I think that's it for my safety tips. Okay, I've gotten a lot of comments on the size of my backpack. So this person asked, how's your big backpack working out? Yeah. It's so funny. I feel so differently about my backpack now than I used to. Like, I used to feel like I can hike with whatever weight backpack I want. I'm tough. I can do it. Something's changed though, and I do not want to carry a heavy backpack anymore. I've already researched like ultralight gear. So I think that this was the turning point for me. Yes, I can hike with a heavy backpack. I know I can do it, but a through hike this long, like 3 months long, carrying a heavy pack, I just don't want to do it. So I'm looking at hopefully lightening my gear for next year. I want to go ultralight. I want to have a super light base pack weight. So I'm so keen, like if you're a through hiker and you do ultralight stuff, let me know what your top tips are in the comments. I don't know anything. Like I basically need to start from scratch. So I'm thinking I'll slowly accumulate my ultralight gear over the course of the winter and then have it ready for next summer, for whatever through hike I do next summer. And yeah, I'm at the point where I just feel like I need to do that. And probably the biggest reason is actually the collarbones. So like right here, I actually still have like calluses. It's like there's a lump here. My heavy pack just like digs in there, and I readjust every strap, everything so often. It just always digs in there. and it's really painful. It just doesn't feel good. A few of my girlfriends have the same issue. I think it's more common with women, but if you have had that issue and you've been able to fix it, also let me know. I've tried different backpacks, different strap positions, and I've got it a bit better, but ultimately it still always happens. Yeah, that's why I want to go ultralight. I also need tips on ultralight backpacks, so let me know if you have a favorite. Okay, so how do you manage your period? So this is a really good question because I usually use a Diva cup when I have my period, and if you don't know, that's a menstrual cup that you insert and it just catches the blood. I do prefer hiking with that. However, this trail has a lot less water, and so it's harder to get water to clean it. So I've actually just used tampons and just packed out my garbage. And this hike's interesting because like I do walk past a lot of garbage cans, so I can actually ditch my garbage pretty frequently. But a common phenomena for through hiking menstruators is that when you lose body weight, you actually your period can stop. Is it hard filming while hiking? What equipment do you carry with you? Yeah. It is hard making these videos while hiking. I think both the filming and the editing and fitting it all in, I would say probably one of the hardest things about this hike so far has been trying to balance that. Film everything, still hike fast enough, and have time to edit and post these videos. It's tough. It's worth it, absolutely. I love doing it, but it adds a degree of difficulty for sure. So the equipment that I carry, I can't show you this, but the camera right now that's recording me is my iPhone. I've got a mic, a little mic that actually plugs into the bottom of my phone, so that can improve the audio quality, and I have a Gorilla tripod, so it's like a small little tripod that's light that I carry in one hand, and then I carry a hiking pole in the other hand. I've fluctuated a bit between doing 2 poles and camera, but I've just gotten into the rhythm of 1 pole and camera in the other hand. What I've been trying to do in terms of editing is taking at least 1 day off per week, where that entire day I edit the video, and that honestly has proven to be a very, very tough balance, because I'm so tired from hiking. Like, through hiking is exhausting, so I could just feel like I could like sleep and eat all day, but I'm actually editing the video. So that has been really interesting to figure out how to do and like make sure I get it done, but I have been able to do it and it's worked out pretty well so far, so that's great. Okay, let's get into the why. So why do I choose to through hike alone when it's so dangerous? I get this question so often, like, why? Why do you want to hike alone? Like, what? Why do you even want to through hike? Like, it's sort of hard to wrap your head around when it's not something that you're interested in doing yourself, and I get that. So there's a few different things. For me, hiking is literally my favorite activity to do. I don't really know how to describe it because it's almost like an indescribable feeling, but walking and going long distances every day just feels so good. I just love it. There are so many moments when I'm just like, this is amazing, and I'm so into it, and I just love, love, love it. I love hiking up mountains and getting to viewpoints, being in the alpine, like, I love it. I'm obsessed with hiking, honestly. So there's that aspect, like, I just love it. But then the additional layer of being alone, there's multiple things that go into that for me. I really like spending time alone. I am an introvert, so having time on my own is really important for me to basically recharge my batteries. And hiking alone allows me to do the thing I love most and have lots of time to take in the environment around me, have an adventure, and also just like process things, think about things, have that alone time to reset. And you know, most days I'm not really running into other hikers when I'm doing through hikes. So far on the hikes that I've done, there haven't been that many hikers, and so being out on my own has been has allowed for me to have tons of that good recharging alone time for me. And then there's also the factor that when you hike alone, you can hike your hike, basically. You can hike your pace, you can stop when you want to stop, you can go when you want to go. You don't have to worry about someone else's itinerary, someone else's needs. And that is really nice because it actually helps me like be in tune with myself even more. And that's something I've struggled with a lot over the course of my life, is actually being in tune with myself and my needs and addressing them when they need to be addressed. And sometimes when I'm around other people, it's harder for me to actually notice what I need when I need it. So being alone while hiking helps me do that and helps me actually take that skill and apply it to the rest of my life, which is super important because you have to take care of your own needs. And there's just something so special about it. The fact that I know I'm doing it on my own. I know that I'm the only one who can look after myself and keep myself safe in that moment. It really feels empowering, and it really feels satisfying when I reach goals that I've set for myself. Thru hiking alone is pretty common as well. Like, a lot of thru hikers I've met are solo. They prefer to be solo. One factor for that, I think, is that thru hikes take a long time. Like 3 months is a long time to be hiking. So you might not even have someone who could take that time off work or who could actually make it work. And the only way that you'll be able to do this dream of yours is to do it on your own. And so I think the ability to do that is really incredible as well. Some people have asked, like, why isn't Brian hiking with you? Like, what's the deal? And the reality is, like, he likes hiking and he likes walking with me, but he doesn't love hiking like I love hiking. He's happy to do some hiking with me and then drive the rest of the day. Like, that's sort of more what he's into. So it's a perfect combo right now because he can do his stuff, drive the van around, go for swims if he wants, that sort of thing. And then I can walk between point A and point B and he can pick me up. We could have done it together. Like, we could have parked the van, left it somewhere, and then done this whole hike together. But it is really nice to still have the van, be using it, and it allows me to have actually more comfort at night when I can come back to the van. If I come back to the van, I can shower in here. It actually helps me be able to be more refreshed for hiking as well. So yeah, it's actually worked out to be a really good combo for us. Like, depending on the day, Brian will hike with me for part of the day, and that's been great because he's getting a hike in, but he's not having to do a huge hike, especially in the heat of the day, because he can't, the heat's really tough on him. It's tough on me too, but like not as much as on Brian. So yeah, those are really the main reasons that I choose to thru hike alone. The reason why I love thru hiking is I love hiking so much, but thru hiking I love even more. And I did not know if I would love it until I tried it when I did the Great Divide Trail. But once I tried it, I was hooked. The huge goal of doing a massive distance and the lifestyle of hiking long days every single day, it just suits me so well. I love it so much. I find it gives me so much perspective on the world and life and who I am as a person and how I want to relate to people around me. And it honestly makes me a better person. And I feel the most like myself when I'm out on trail working towards a big long distance goal and just walking through an area. So if you're thinking about trying thru hiking and you think you'll like it, I think you should try it, because you never know until you try. It's such a unique lifestyle to be out on trail all day, every single day, and have like your primary focus be hiking. So definitely try it out. You might fall in love with it and you might feel like you're most like yourself when out hiking. Okay, that wraps up my Q&A. If there are any questions I didn't cover that you really are dying to know, let me know in the comments below. I'll probably do another Q&A at some point during the hike or even at the end of the hike to let you know how things are going. So let me know if you have questions. If you haven't been following my channel, I am going to be continuing to post videos of my whole entire CLDT, so make sure you subscribe to my channel. And if you liked this video, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you next week for the next video. Bye!